Are consistency and coherence the same thing in branding? I always saw them as being drastically different. Consistency gave me the feeling of repetition, this idea of produced by one and applied by many. The brand strategy, its identity, it comes from the top and is utilized by the rest. Coherence, on the other hand, had me envisioning multiple painters, each with a bit of their own style, contributing to the same canvas to produce a comprehensive and cohesive image. Coherence for me was always produced by many and applied by one. So, in our case, multiple stakeholders contributing to the collective whole, the final one brand. But while reviewing Kate Watts' article on timelessness, for financial brands in her case, but I think it applies to all brands, something she wrote made me stop and reconsider this distinction between consistency and coherence for the first time in as long as I can remember. She said, consistency doesn't mean sameness. It means coherence. According to her, a timeless financial brand can express itself across channels and moments without losing its identity. The experience feels connected even as formats and contexts change. So while I've been colliding consistency and repetition, right, thinking that traditional brand strategists continue to hammer the idea of hammering ideas, here's someone that ironically found a way to express the concept in a manner that aligns much closer to what I believe and what I'm seeing. Consistency used to be treated as sameness because of A, that traditional notion of repetition is key that many of us grew up professing professionally, and B, because most of branding has been dominated by visual identity. And there, of course, you have the concept of repeating the logo, following the same templates, and appearing visually the same across all environments for recognition. But here's the thing. Brand is now something that's not only seen clearly, so to speak, but also something that's increasingly spoken, written, heard, felt, interpreted. It's equated oftentimes to a vibe. Something simply feels off-brand. And that means that the nuances of a brand need to be identified. They need to be explained and understood. It's not enough to set some static guidelines for a brand's identity. We know that by now. But this goes beyond live guidelines that shift their static nature with the latest examples. No, this means, first and foremost, the willingness to be nuanced, and second of all, the understanding of what a reasonable nuance actually is. From where I'm sitting, there are really only two ways to properly grasp a brand's nuance layers. Either you're a veteran that knows which decisions were made along the way and why, or you build a repository of usage points so robust and so full that it can serve for both that overarching sense of what the brand is and the details that make all the difference in certain situations. That way, employees can see clearly that the brand morphs and also dive deeper into how it morphs. I think we can agree that this purview is very much missing in identity systems. It's not often that strategists look beyond the core brand elements to exemplify the brand's ability to occupy different spaces, different containers, different contexts. It also doesn't feel like something that can be decided from the get-go as a brand strategist because it's something that comes from experience while using and operating as the brand. It comes as the employees you've hired for their alignment with your values and their relevant expertise, how they deliberate and decide over time the ways in which the brand can and cannot morph into new situations. Zoe Scaman actually made an interesting point about this recently, using the term heartwood, which is the dense inner part of a tree, to describe, and I quote, the accumulated judgment, relational memory, ethical stance, and tacit knowledge that distinguishes one organization from another. It's what the organization is made of, not what it does, she says. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, especially as agentic branding continues to take priority. There will never be a replacement for the veteran experience that I previously described. But if business leaders and tech development continue to insist that we codify, to the best of our ability, what a brand is, then we need to take this heartwood into account. I can only speak from my perspective, but I do see this a lot in editorial strategy and editorial design, especially amidst agentic search. A significant piece of the corporate knowledge graphs being built is dedicated to collating as many of these individualized experiences, relevant examples, prior actions, and unique approaches, as many of them as possible, into a repository that is both useful to the brand's internal stakeholders and legible to AI agents. Because what's increasingly obvious is that these agents won't just speak or render experiences on behalf of your brand. They will make assumptions about your brand, extensions of what they know about your brand, and present those back to their users as if it was proven truth, as if it was something they found rather than something they pieced together. So the more evidence of your brand's nuances that you can collect, that you can structure, that you can provide, the better it is for both your people and your reputation, especially if, as Kate mentions, you're interested in being a consistent and coherent brand.